The sun was rising over the hills as Tara walked towards the fields, her boots crunching on the hard dirt path. As usual, her mind wandered to the strange lights in the sky that had been appearing more frequently over the past cycles. They hovered, unmoving, watching over the village from high above. While most dismissed them as weather balloons or military crafts from the Northlands, Tara had her suspicions they were something more alien. Reaching the grain fields, she began her morning work, scything the ripening stalks with practiced precision. The repetitive motions allowed her mind to continue pondering the skies. As the sun rose higher, movement caught her eye in the western horizon. Two bright objects emerged from behind the hills, gleaming metallic in the light. They silently glided over the treetops, coming to a halt directly above the village below. Tara shaded her eyes to peer up at the intruders, trying to make out details. These vessels seemed more advanced than any local technology, with sleek curved lines and hint of powerful engines. As she watched, hatches on the underside began to slide open. At first nothing happened, the ship simply hanging motionless in the breeze. Then tendrils seemed to slowly unfold from the openings, lengthening downward towards the ground like twisting vines. At their ends, shapes took form. Not mechanical arms, but limbs with feet and hands. Beings were descending from the bellies of the ships via these flexible conduits. Tara froze in astonishment, realizing with chilling clarity these were no earthly crafts. Living creatures were emerging and crawling down to make planetfall right before her eyes. She dropped her scythe and broke into a run towards the village to raise the alarm. Bursting into the town square, she found the elders meeting as usual to discuss local matters. They fell silent at the sight of her, wild-eyed and out of breath. Watchers, from the sky, ships, beings, was all Tara could gasp out between pants. The elders exchanged doubtful looks, used to the excitability of youth. But something in Tara's tone gave them pause. Just then, cries arose from the outskirts of town. Rushing to investigate, the elders and villagers arrived at the grain fields to a disturbing scene. Strange, angular beings had materialized from nowhere and were herding the farm animals into hovering spheres, somehow levitating them aboard without physical contact. When the creatures noticed the humans approaching, they turned as one with eerie coordination. Soulless black eyes stared out from heads reminiscent of metal insects, expressions utterly alien. A low buzzing emerged from their pointed jaws, an attempt at communication perhaps, but the sounds conveyed no meaning, only confusion and threat. The elders held up hands in a plea for peace, but the beings did not understand or care. They had come to take, and nothing would stop them claiming what they desired from this world. With a whine of anti-gravity, the spheres lifted into the air, animals struggling uselessly inside. The beings followed, propelling upwards on unknown forces to rejoin their vessels overhead. The ships then turned and glided away westward over the forest, disappearing as suddenly as they had come. A shocked silence fell over the village in their wake. Their very existence challenged everything the people knew of the universe. Tara stepped forward, meeting the eyes of the eldest among them. "I told you it was no weather balloon," she said grimly. The elder nodded, deep furrows appearing on his worn brow. They would have to prepare themselves for the return of the Watchers from the skies and find a way to resist their depredations. News of the incident spread quickly across the land in coming days. At first, few believed such fantastic claims of alien visitation, but eyewitness accounts from several other villages dispelled doubts, and a wave of dread swept the rural communities. Councils were called at the seasonal gather to decide on a course of action. When the time came, Tara traveled with the elders to the peaceful valley, where all peoples met in peace annually to trade, mediate disputes, and share knowledge. Great bonfires were lit as the sun set, around which people gathered in familial clumps, talking in hushed, urgent voices. Tara's elders conferred with leaders from afar, comparing notes on Watcher behavior and technology. It seemed the robotic raiders had hit multiple farms, always immobilizing livestock in the same anti-gravity bubbles. But their purpose remained unclear. Were they scouts, thieves, or tyrants establishing dominion? Into the night, wise voices debated strategy. Some argued for seeking contact to negotiate, while others counseled hiding in mountains until the invaders left of their own accord. But Tara knew from experience the Watchers did not negotiate or lose interest. They would keep taking without end unless met with resistance. When a lull came in discussions, she stepped forward into the firelight. "My friends, we have seen they do not understand peace. The only language they know is force. We must show we will not be victims, but fighters for our way of life." Murmurs of agreement and dismay arose at her bold words. One elder addressed her gently. "Child, we are farmers and craftspeople, not soldiers. How would simple folk stand against shining weapons from the stars?" "Our weapons are the land that sustains us," Tara replied calmly. "Deny them what they steal and undo what havoc they wreak while raiding our fields. No technology can match spirit and will to defend home and freedom. If we coordinate and prepare, pooling skills and remaining unseen, we can hit where they are weak and retreat before facing open battle." The crowds fell silent, pondering the cunning of her plan. It was audacious but could work, turning the Watchers' own raids against them through stealth and mobility. In the end, trust in Tara's insight and desire to fight rather than flee carried the day. Over days and nights, under cover of darkness, communities united to gather supplies, share intelligence on Watcher movements, and train woodland patrols. When the aliens returned to despoil further lands, they found nothing left to take easily. Clouds of smoke began drifting up from scorched fields, burning bright against the night. Noise lured the Watchers to ambushes where netting entangled anti-gravity and metal, bringing down ships with living cargo, left trapped and vulnerable outside. Soon no village livestock remained for the taking, and panic stirred in the pilots' strange minds. They had not anticipated this world would stand up and fight back with such low-tech ferocity and cunning. Retaliation followed. Targeted raids to punish resistors and cripple coordination. But Tara's hidden forces stayed nimble, watching from shadows, only striking where the element of surprise could still be theirs. Slowly, they turned Watcher raids into stinging defeats, each victory raising hope among the people. Word reached the great city to the south of a miracle occurring in rural borderlands. Backward peasants bloodlessly defeating a technologically advanced foe through unyielding spirit and reverence for home. Scientists volunteered aid in analyzing downed vessels, and rangers joined patrols, swelling rebel numbers with new skills. Under Tara's leadership, the movement grew bold, targeting enemy vessels directly instead of reactionary defense. She developed strategies anticipating alien responses, remaining 3 steps ahead thanks to deep understanding won through direct experience with the Watchers. Her fame spread across the land. At last, enough ships lay in smoking pieces that the rest withdrew from this hostile world, realizing resources spent here could be better used subjugating easier targets. The skies emptied once more. A new age had begun for the region, one of freedom, empowerment, and flourishing culture no longer under constant threat. In time, Tara passed her mantle of generalship to younger protégés, content to return to quiet village life. But her name would live on in history and lore as the hero who proved even the lowliest among people could triumph over any overlord, no matter how bizarre or technologically advanced, so long as the will to determine one's own destiny remained burning bright. The Watchers had learned humanity shall never back down from defending what is theirs. The village celebrated Tara's victory over the Watchers for weeks after their retreat, but she found no rest. Reports reached her of scattered sightings along the frontier. It seemed not all the alien ships had fled, and so Tara called her closest advisors to her to plan their next moves. "The Watchers have surely regrouped by now," said Doran, a weathered farmer who had lost his farm early in the raids. His deep knowledge of the land had proven invaluable to the resistance. "We must strike before they grow bold again." Tara nodded slowly. "You speak truly, but we cannot spread ourselves too thin. Another defeat could break our momentum. We need information." She turned to her other advisor, Mila the scholar. Unlike the others, Mila hailed from the great city, having come to study rural ways after the attacks began. Her insight into Watcher technology helped counter it. "Send me to the city. I may find clues in their wreckage," Mila suggested, "and bring back aid. Your fame has reached powerful ears. Engineers and troops can bolster our scouts." This plan met Tara's approval. While Mila departed the next day, she and Doran began selecting scouting parties from the resilient villagers. Each was skilled in survival and stealth, willing to risk much for their homes. Among them was Yorick, a quiet young man who had proven his mettle against the Watchers. Like many, he bore scars, 3 parallel slashes down his arm where a Watcher's metal limb had slashed him. But his woodcraft abilities made him vital. Another chosen was Sela, a widow who had fled to the hills with her children after the Watchers raided her farm. Her familial protectiveness now drove her to defend all families. Both Yorick and Sela understood Tara's strategic genius had saved them and followed her without question. Tara sent the scouts out in pairs toward known Watcher sightings. "Go carefully, and may the gods guide your steps," she bid them farewell. Then she and Doran began strengthening defenses, recalling old siege tactics from histories of past invasions. Every able person lent a hand. 2 moon cycles passed without word, fueling anxieties. Then one night, a scout pair stumbled into camp. It was Yorick, supporting an injured Sela. "Watchers, ambush, survivors out there," was all Sela could gasp before falling unconscious. Yorick recounted how they'd come upon the ruins of a small village in the northern hills. Hovering above were 2 ruined Watcher ships, scavenging scraps as other ships arrived. The scouts hid and observed a group depart on foot, likely survivors of the initial attack, now captives. "We must try saving them," Doran insisted once Sela awoke, determined as ever. Tara nodded slowly. "You're right. To let the Watchers take more would break our people's will. Send Ryder for Mila's aid. We go at dawn." Come morning, Tara assembled 2 squads. Half were farmers turned fighters like Doran, armed with what weapons they had. The other was the more mobile scout squad under Yorick and Sela's command. As the sun rose, they set off north at a punishing pace. Along the way, Sela told Tara of her past. Once a typical farmer's wife, after her family died, she found herself attracted to Yorick due to his calm bravery. Now she fought as ferociously as any man to honor their memories. Her story moved Tara, showing how loss and love could transform anyone into a hero given cause. That night, Yorick's scouts located the Watcher camp, 4 ships in a valley with captives held at its center in restraint bubbles. Tara devised a plan. Under cover of darkness, the scouts would cut the captives free and signal retreat. Meanwhile, the fighters would ambush any pursuing Watchers from the cliffs above. All went smoothly at first, but as the captives fled, an alarm sounded from one late-rising ship. Watchers poured from the others like angry metal insects. Tara's fighters engaged them from above with arrows and stones, while the scouts shepherded villagers to safety. But the aliens adapt quickly, turning anti-grav beams upon the cliff fighters. As rockslides began, Tara knew they must fall back or be buried. With great reluctance, she gave the signal to withdraw. They had rescued lives, but the Watchers remained a looming threat. The villagers nursed their wounds in silence as they retreated from the valley. Though they had saved lives, failing to fully defeat the Watchers weighed heavily. Tara conferred with her captains, eyes dark with frustration. "We cannot outfight their technology in open battle," said Mila gravely. She had arrived with reinforcements the previous night, too late to alter the plan. "We must use environment against them." Doran nodded. "The forests and hills are our allies. Camouflage and ambush will overcome their sensors." Tara considered this. "You're right. We'll lure them into ground of our choosing." She turned to Yorick. "Scout the terrain. Find us the perfect trap." That evening, Yorick returned with a proposal. Deep in the northern woodlands lay a maze of narrow ravines nearly invisible from above. If they could goad the Watchers into pursuit there at dawn, rocks and arrows could pick them off as they struggled between the tight cliffs. Tara approved the plan. At first light, a small decoy party ambled through the forest trails, making no effort to hide their passage. Soon, hovering shapes appeared above the tree line, following intently. As the Watchers closed in, the decoy party vanished into hiding spots, and the true fighters emerged silently from camouflage blinds set throughout the ravines. The Watchers swept low, sensors struggling to penetrate the rocky chaos. Arrows whipped through the air from 100 well-laid ambushes, puncturing armor as the aliens scrambled between blaster fire. Boulders followed, sent thunderously down slopes by well-aimed kicks and shoves. Trapped in the natural kill sack, the Watchers fell one by one under the barrage. But these were no mere scouts. Their ships numbered a full platoon. As casualties mounted, retaliation grew hysterical. Anti-grav beams swept the cliffs at random, bringing down avalanches to bury fighters and block escape routes. Doran and Mila fought to guide villagers through the deadliest areas as Tara's forces steadily withdrew under intense pressure. An urgent mental command spurred the surviving Watchers into full retreat. But in their panic, one ship careened out of control and crashed its payload of shimmering blue slime across the western ravine. Villagers fled its spread, coughing as the substance reacted violently to wood and stone. A tremendous chemical explosion ripped through the forest, collapsing the cliff walls in a massive cave-in. As debris settled and eerie silence fell, Tara dug herself from the rubble, bloodied but alive, and began shouting for survivors. Only muffled cries replied in the distance. She followed the sounds to a crevice where Doran and 3 others were trapped below a massive boulder. "Tara, legs broken. You must leave us. Lead our people to safety," Doran gasped. Behind stretched a long line of bodies, farmers who had fought bravely against impossible odds. A tear rolled down Tara's cheek at their sacrifice, her failure to foresee doom in this perfect trap. She realized in that moment the weight of responsibility she carried for every life. "I will get you all out of here," she vowed fiercely. Calling on reserves of superhuman will forged through hardship, she began clearing the rocky tomb single-handedly. Above, through the dust clouds, came a renewed droning. The Watchers had regrouped and returned for vengeance. Mila's voice sounded frantically over the comm. The villagers needed evacuation immediately, or be overwhelmed at the ravine's edge. With strength of 5, Tara heaved away the last boulders, freeing her friends. But there was no time for rest. She slung Doran over her shoulders and helped the injured stumble onward through the ruin. Behind, alien weaponry blasted away the natural walls in deadly pursuit. As Tara and her charges emerged onto the forest road at last, Mila dropped from a hovercycle and pulled them aboard. Villagers hurried onto shuttles in the makeshift landing zone beyond. As the last craft lifted off, Watchers crested the tree line in a menacing wall of metal. Tara activated the comm beacon one final time. "Fall back to the village. We'll face them on home ground," she growled through clenched teeth. Mila piloted their craft south at reckless speed, Doran working the medical kit despite his wound. Behind, the Watchers gave chase without pause. As they raced across farmland towards the village, Tara watched their numbers grow. No mere platoon, but a full attack force. She realized with dread the Watchers meant to wipe her people out utterly in response to their insurgency. This would be the final showdown. Touching down at the outskirts, Tara helped carry Doran to the village square. A hasty fortification enclosed the houses and fields, barricaded with whatever materials could be scrounged on short notice. Villagers rushed to aid positions as terrified children and elderly were ushered into shelters. "Hold the line until I return," Tara commanded her captains, embracing each friend. She donned crude armor of layered hides and plates, picked up her favored blunt spear, and strode alone outside the barricade. The Watchers had formed a wide perimeter around the settlement, leaving no chance of escape. Their alpha descended before Tara, a towering biomechanical conglomeration that had directed the occupation. Red photoreceptors bored into her own eyes, sizing up this strange bipedal adversary. A series of guttural electronic whistles emerged, the Watcher tongue unmistakably communicating final ultimatum. Tara stood defiant, raising her spear toward the uncaring machine intelligence. "My people will never surrender to the likes of you. If you want our land, you must take our lives first. Let us end this here, Watcher against Watcher." The Alpha understood challenge when it saw it. Its insectoid limbs folded out wide, preparing shock weapon and plasma caster to crush this fragile organic rebel once and for all. Behind the barricade, villagers steeled themselves for inevitable slaughter. But Tara had one last card to play, a secret she had refined over seasons of confronting the alien scourge. As the Watcher charged its deadly multi-array, Tara spun her spear with uncanny precision and timing honed through long nights of meditation. Her aim was true. The blunt stone tip struck one vulnerable joint after another in the Alpha's complex structure with barely perceptible movements. Confusion spread through its network combat programming, feedbacks looping endlessly as it tried to process how an antique melee weapon was systematically disabling it from within. With a final gut-wrenching heave, Terra tossed the grinding mass of circuits aside in a shower of sparks. An eerie quiet fell across the battlefield as the Alpha's drones froze mid-attack, locked in standby without commanding intelligence. Tara turned to face them alone once more, brandishing her spear overhead in symbolic victory. A low rising chant arose from within the village barricade as oppressed citizens found renewed hope in this unexpected triumph. Taking their cue, Tara let loose a primal yell of defiance that echoed across the land. The drones, realizing the futility of battle, rose silently en masse and began departing planetfall. Their fleets would not return, not while the spirit of this world's protectors yet lived and fought with primal ingenuity against any who sought to shackle them. The Watchers from the skies had at last learned true courage could never be overcome by might alone. A weary calm settled over the village in the Watchers' retreat. Survivors emerged cautiously from shelters to embrace weeping loved ones and view the devastation. Tara limped among them, offering comforting words though her own spirit lay in tatters. She found Mila tending the wounded, pale but determined. "The city sent a flyer. Help will be here by nightfall," Mila informed her. Tara nodded gratefully. "And Doran?" Mila's eyes darkened. "His injuries were too grave. He fought to the end for his people. As a healer, I could do no more." Tara closed her eyes against fresh tears, took a shaky breath. Dear Doran, who had stood by her side through every trial, was now lost to the bitter conflict he had given his life to ascend. She thanked Mila quietly and stumbled on. In the town square, Sela sat mournfully beside a shrouded form. It was Yorek, cut down defending another. Sela looked up with red-rimmed eyes as Tara knelt painfully beside her. "He fought so bravely, but it was not enough," Sela whispered brokenly. Tara embraced her, sharing her agony. "Their sacrifice means the Watchers can never return. Our people live free because of Doran, Yorek, and all the heroes who fell defending this land. We must honor them by rebuilding stronger than ever." Sela nodded determinedly through her tears. Both women knew the hard road ahead, but finding purpose in continuing the fallen's legacy would carry them through grief. They rose and began coordinating recovery efforts as flyers arrived on the horizon, bearing doctors, engineers, and political dignitaries from the encampment at the city border. Over the next lunar cycles, aid workers swarmed the village. Machines lifted rubble and constructed temporary shelters, while medics tended injuries. Counselors guided villagers through trauma with empathy and care. As fortifications were shored up with reinforced plasteel and sensor grids, Terra ensured her people's self-determination remained paramount in discussions with city leaders. "You have earned autonomy in these border territories," the Expeditionary Force General acknowledged, "but unity with our coalition provides security against future threats. What say you? Will you join the Federation as an equal protectorate?" The villagers conferred, then Tara addressed him. "We accept your friendship and protection on one condition, that our ways of life remain free and we govern our own affairs. Is this acceptable?" The general smiled. "It is. From this day, you and your descendants shall want for nothing, for you are fellow citizens of the people, and heroes who defended this world when all seemed lost." As construction neared completion moons later, a somber memorial was erected in the town square, a holographic orb containing the names and images of the fallen to be remembered for ages. Villagers came from miles around to pay respects and decorate it with offerings. Tara stood silently before the monument as the sun set on that first day of remembrance. Though physical and emotional wounds still pained her, seeing her community heal and strengthen beneath the Protector's vigil lightened her heavy heart. A hand squeezed hers. Sila had approached without a word. They embraced and stood watching the stars kindle in solemn contemplation, finding solace in each other's company. Months passed peacefully. Life flourished across the borderlands under the Federation's banner. with regular patrols ensuring no further invader could disrupt the fragile recovery. Tara focused on advising local leadership and rebuilding infrastructure. But amid the busy work, a void lingered that work could not fill. One night, sitting alone upon the hillside where she had watched the Watchers first descend so long ago, her thoughts turned inevitably to Doran. His steady support through every challenge was missed like a missing limb. How she wished to share this bittersweet victory with him, to see his weathered face light up at their people's progress. Tears slipped silently down her cheeks as memories overwhelmed. A whisper of footsteps roused her. Wiping her eyes, Tara turned to see Sela approaching through the tall grass, cloak pulled close against the chill. Without a word, Sela sat beside her, taking her hand gently in understanding silence as they gazed out across the starry borders they had fought so hard to defend. Leaning her head upon Sela's shoulder, Tara at last allowed herself to fully grieve for dear friends lost in that bitter fight for destiny, finding calm solace in another's care. 5 seasons passed in peace. The borderlands flourished under Tara's guidance as she toured rebuilding projects. Though responsibilities kept her busy, quiet moments with Sela brought joy to offset losses still grieved. One evening, the village gathered at Tara and Sela's home for a celebration. "You have led us from darkness into light," the elders addressed Tara. "It is time for new leaders to take your place, so you may find rest." Tara smiled, touched by their thoughtfulness, but wanting no fanfare. "I am yet strong and willing. There are bridges still to build." Just then a commotion arose. A lone flyer had dropped from the clouds, hovering now above the square. 3 figures descended, Mila accompanied by 2 strangers in stark white uniforms, emblems of the engineering corps upon their shoulders. "Forgive the intrusion, but urgent news could not wait," Mila greeted the villagers. She turned gravely to Tara. "Scouts have detected residual energy signatures along the old frontier. They are gathering for something, but for what purpose we cannot say." The engineers stepped forward. "We intend exploring the source and have requested your guidance, General Tara, given your unique experience with these entities. Will you accompany our expedition?" Tara exchanged a worried glance with Sela. After so long, had the nightmare truly returned? Duty demanded she learn the truth and safeguard her people. Reluctantly, she agreed to join at first light. At dawn, they lifted aboard the flyer through scattered clouds. Below, farms and villages lay peaceful as folks set about their daily tasks, unaware of possible new threat on the horizon. The scientists briefed Tara on detected energy spikes near where she had first battled the Watchers years ago. Readouts showed prolonged bursts, then diminishing, possibly long-range transmissions. Communications? Tara wondered anxiously. Recruiting aid or summoning an invasion armada? No one dared speculate as the landscape rushed by. After several hours, the flyer began its descent into a mountainous region. As it touched down, Tara saw the source nestled in a high valley, a perfect natural blind for encampment. Striding forward alone, unarmed per agreement, she called out in the old alien language learned through warfare. Silence. Then movement. 2 robed figures emerged from cavern shadows she recognized all too well. Their lithe forms and obsidian eyes were unchanged, if bearing new scars. "You," Tara uttered in disbelief. The Watchers dipped their insectoid heads briefly. "We come in peace, Tara of the Fields," said one in fragmented speech. "Our kind made grave errors, attempted conquest where community was wanted. We fled defeated, but redemption found among sympathetic travelers from afar. Now we repair past wrongs and pay respects." The other Watcher extended a spindly limb from its robe, unveiling a glowing orb similar to the village memorial. Names of the fallen on both sides, so future generations learn from bloodshed, and knowledge to aid your people, if redemption through gifts will be accepted. Tara stood stunned, decades of distrust warring with new possibilities. The scientist emerged tentatively as she fell silent. At last she spoke. "Your gifts are welcomed, not to undo horrors of invasion, but forge hopeful, new chapter. Much healing remains on all sides. Stay, and together we'll build understanding where once stood only conflict." The Watchers bowed deeply, relief palpable in their stilted voices. Tara turned to her shocked companions with a weary smile. Come, there is a reconciliation's work to be done, and a celebration awaits sharing this dawn of unity. The flyer lifted off as the sunset lit the sky aflame once more over the borderlands, now ushering a new era of cooperation where fear and division once reigned. Though turmoil's wounds lingered, in the villagers' resilience and these strange beings' rehabilitation lay promise that even the bitterest of adversaries could recognize our shared fragility and humanity and work towards compassion. Nothing was predetermined or set in stone, as long as spirits refused to stop striving for peace. And so Tara's long vigil ended with hope kindled anew under the watchers in the sky she had come to know, at last, as potential friends.